Hey, I'm Joey KO. This is Mixed Martial Mike. And I don't know if you guys seen the fight with Berlanga as a main event. We was going over it, and I kind of agree with Tim Bradley.
I think Tim Bradley knew what he was doing when he dropped that line. I think that was the last thing I remember. As opposed to the performance, the last thing that was on my mind was the fact that Tim Bradley called him the phony one. And that's disrespectful. So we coming at this from different angles. Tim Bradley, you're disrespectful for that, champ. There was a long time where people didn't respect you, and what happened? You had to prove yourself in the ring, and you got your respect. So give this guy a chance, man. He's 20-something years old. He's super young.
I never liked the way a lot of announcers and sports people talk about fighters that feel like fighters definitely deserve a lot of respect. So I would never come out my face and say that. And I'm still rooting for Berlanga. He's still a good fighter. I think he's a dangerous fighter. But I don't see how he's going to beat the bigger names. Even Gabe Rosado, right? I don't think he beats him. I don't think he could beat Andrade, Charlo brothers. Even Triple G as an agent fighter, I don't see him beating him.
That guy only lost to Triple H, man. That guy wasn't no bum in there, bro. Triple G.
Because he's, Triple G is a smart boxer. He knows how to use his jab. He puts his combinations together. He doesn't just hit hard. The way I seen Berlanga fight, his last two fights, is I'm seeing his frustration now that they stepped him up in these next two fights. In the last three fights, really, they stepped him up on competition, especially these last two fights, guys that have been there at the world championship level, and he's not looking the same, and he's getting more frustrated, lunging in, making himself more susceptible to getting caught, and that's why he got dropped in his last fight.
This guy was on point too, Steve Rose. And people are giving this guy, they just pushing him to the side. My man only lost to Triple G. So Steve Rose is a very commendable opponent for Berlanga. And I think you're talking about his last 2-3 fights. I think it's more important that we talk about his entire career at this point. Because what's happening with him, in my humble opinion, he's struggling through a mental rut right now. His mental rut is that he's used to touching people and they fall. They're not falling right now, and it's because either he's changed his style to accommodate boxing, or he's not even bringing that aggression like he used to.
I think the level of competition may be the reason for it, because he's having a hard time landing punches on these guys that are better fighters,
right? And
because of it, he's getting frustrated. Now you talk about people are running and all that. You got to learn how to cut the ring. You got to be that type of man.
I love that.
At the end of the day, these guys are going to box you. If they know that's your weakness, fighting you from the outside, more guys are going to box you. And that's what happens to a lot of great fighters. People figure out how to beat them. Once you lose once, then other fighters see how you can be beat. And if you can't make the proper adjustments, your career is over. Even Felix Trinidad, who won over 20 title fights in a row, or close, I think he was 18 fights in a row as a world champion. Once they figured out how to beat him, you saw Winky Wright come after Hopkins and just 2-3 fights and be able to stylistically beat him.
Why do you think a guy like Floyd Mayweather comes up with coin tokens like skills pay the bills? So boxing has that adage out there. Skills pays the bills. And when you notice a lot of people, even in other sports, they lose athleticism, but they don't have the skills to change and alter their game enough so that athleticism is not really the X factor of their game. Like Roy Jones Jr. His X factor was his athleticism, his speed, his twitchy nature. Once that started to diminish, he started getting knocked out. Yeah. And what goes first? The chinny chin chin. So not only did
Floyd, to your point, Floyd used more intelligence than athleticism. So even as an agent fighter, he continued to win. Because he didn't, he didn't showboat as much.
He stopped moving. Right.
He was a showboat, but not like Roy Jones.
Stopped moving. Look, Mayweather became efficient. He stopped moving for no reason. Pacquiao moves for no reason.
He stopped bouncing
Pacquiao
around.
just does this. And I know it's intimidating. It's like, oh my God, this guy's a rabbit.
But it wastes more energy too.
But it wastes way more energy. Where Mayweather's like
more fluent, more
He's
calm.
moving when you move.
When I move, you move. Just like that. When I move, you move. Just like that.
He's not moving just to move now. So that's the difference between Mayweather and guys that aren't able to make an adjustment. Like, look at LeBron James in other sports. LeBron's able to not be nowhere near as athletic as when he was 30, but adjust his game so that he can still do or perform at a high level. So that's what you got to do at a certain point. And Berlanga is at such a youthful point of his career that for us to even coin him a phony one, or that's just utterly ridiculous, because the guy just was knocking people out first round consecutively 16 times in a row. So to me, he needs to make that adjustment and understand that it's multitasking. Yes, he needs to worry about his boxing skill. Yes, he needs to worry about his power shots, but he needs to know how to put those two together. Floyd Mayweather knew how to put offense and defense together. He wasn't just he wasn't just a defensive guy. His counter ability is the reason why Mayweather was such an amazing force, and it continues to be an amazing force. So,
but Berlanga, I just don't see him. He's not Floyd Mayweather. I don't see him making the adjustments to fully be at the top of the division. I think that even when I look at the top 10 at 168 pounds and even 160 pounds, I don't see him really beating any of these guys. Like, he might be able to knock somebody out, but at the top level is a lot harder to get these guys out of there. So,
and he's actually, because of the better improved competition, or maybe his mindset, I don't know what it is, he's looking extremely one-dimensional right now. Just like in his previous fight before the Rose fight on Saturday, all he did was throw jabs, right? Aggressive leaping jabs if he couldn't get to a close one, and then throw looping right hands. So here's a fighter that other fighters know is coming forward on a straight line, throwing nothing but jabs and looping right hands. You can prepare yourself for that. And I'm not a fighter, but I'm talking about other fighters can train and prepare themselves for that. And then, of course, they have their own regiments. They have their own little things they worry about, every other fighter in general. But they already have like a perfect blueprint of how to set up a victory against Berlanga. Imagine anybody at 160, 168 that are going to fight Berlanga. What's the fucking game plan?
Even Gabe Rosado, he fights from the outside, stylistically a boxer. It looks like that's his weakness. I don't think he could beat Gabe Rosado right now, today.
Look at Lubin. Look what happened to Lubin. Berlanga was on top of Lubin. Lubin did the Vladimir Klitschko. Threw like 4 or 5 hooks in a row and beat him.
He's a sucker for the left hook too. Yep, definitely a sucker for the left hook.
His head movement needs work. He needs a lot of work. And I think getting all those knockouts gave them a certain confidence that is actually not, and a certain level of experience, because experience is different. Most people say, oh, this guy got 30 fights. He has great experience. Just because he has 30 fights?
And he don't throw a lot of punches.
Who was the 30 people he fought? What are the 30 opponents brought to him? Did he, in those 30 opponents, did he fight? How many different style matchups did he fight? Did he fight the same type of guy? What level of opponent did he fight? Experience is not that. Bivol got 17 fights. He's about to fight Canelo.
He already beat a few world champions, defended the title. He's serious.
He's serious.
Yeah.
So experience also comes differently. And Berlanga's experience has actually been hurtful to this point of his career, because most fighters at this point of their career, they've already amassed 8-round decision victories, 6-round decision victory. You know, every level they've amounted a decision victory. So not only is your endurance picking up, your experience levels picking up, but you are actually outputting at a certain level that's very beneficial for your future. Where Berlanga knocking people out, one hit of quitters is not going to help him really when it comes to the
He needs to let them hands go too. He don't throw enough punches at a high level. You don't want to turn into an Adrian Broner now.
Right.
You're getting outworked by your opponent.
And he got hurt his last fight, so do you think it's a little bit of that hesitancy?
I don't know, man. I just felt like he got outgunned in his last 2 fights, where his opponents not only were fighting on their back leg, was throwing more punches. It's going to be hard for you to win fights like that. If you're going to be aggressive, you got to throw more punches. And, I mean, he landed some good shots. He was hurting Rolls. I think if he would have been a little more patient when he's chasing them down, got more creative, worked the body, and then go up, I don't feel like he threw enough body shots. And those were hurting Rolls. So, yeah, you got to definitely work on the things that was working. And I think there was times where he could have finished his opponent, but he got too desperate when he saw him get hurt.
He's stuck.
Was missing
in his ways, just like what you told me a lot of matchups in the past. You told me, oh, this guy's focusing on this and that. You will always tell me what? Nah, bro. In the middle of the fight, when things get gritty, you go to the bread and butter that you know what to do. You don't think about your game plan. You do what you know what to do. So that's his problem. When it gets gritty and it gets tough, he goes to the jab overhand right. As opposed to like what Joey KO just explained, he could have easily been throwing them body shots as he threw beautiful body work. But he kept throwing this uppercut too that was missing. He was like forcing something to go through as opposed to letting the game come to him. If you can't land the right hand, don't land the right hand. You gotta land that uppercut.
How Xander Zayas puts his combinations together? Like, you gotta take a page from the younger Zayas, because he's really throwing some sharp punches. If he had Berlanga's power, oh my God.
Bro, you explained it lovely, because I was just going to say, Xander Zayas, people criticize him. Because Xander Zayas, for example,
criticizes Xander
they'll
Zayas.
say that he don't got a lot of power, that he's a puncher, he's a pillow puncher. But guess what? He's had every level of competition, that amount of experience in the ring. He's had to fight 8 rounds, 10 rounds. And when he fights 12, he will fight 12-round decisions.
I don't think he's up to 10 rounds yet, but
he was at 8.
He's 19 years old, and he's putting his combinations together, and he's throwing a lot of punches. If Berlanga could start tightening up his combos and throw more punches like that, and, you know, use that jab to get those combinations going, I think he's really having a hard time, you know, cutting off the ring and following these guys down.
Right.
You know, because he's not throwing enough jabs. To really pick your shots, you got to chase your man down, cut off the ring, and use the jab. Look at Triple G. You should have more of a Triple G style.
I hate he's faster than Triple G.
Yeah, he is. But Triple G, the beautiful thing about Triple G is that he may not have the fastest hands, but what he does, he set things up with the jab. He got a stiff, straight jab, a great jab, and works his combinations, hits the body, and he makes it count. He's kind of like a Xander Zayas, just a bit slower, but with punching power. Like, that's what made Triple G so special.
He's not Antonio Margarito. Absolutely not. He's a forward fighter.
Even Margarito throws his hands better than.
But that is an amazing comparison that I think Berlanga should try to emulate. Triple G, because if he wants to come forward, Triple G will come forward with a jab, but he will time it perfectly.
He keeps his distance. He knows how to work his range. That's why he's hard to hit. He has really good defense for a guy who's mostly offense.
To culminate this video, let's get to the crux of what even brought us to this video, which is Tim Bradley saying that he was the phony one. Do you agree with that assessment?
I kind of felt that way coming into this fight.
You did say that to me.
So I feel like he might be the phony. I don't know if he could make those adjustments. I don't believe in him. I'm still going to root for him because he's Boricua, and you know how we feel about that. But he might be tasting defeat if certain things don't change. So my vote is the phony one.
Damn. Well, I'm going to say it's too early to call him the chosen one, because you remember in The Matrix, Neo got fucked up until he died.
He probably learned off a loss, you think?
Well, you either win or you learn. So he's been winning, and I hope he's been learning from these wins, because he didn't look satisfied, right? He looked as disappointed as anybody could be.
He looked disappointed,
which I like to see. I would have hated to see some delusional motherfucker like, yeah, I won, I'm the best. No, he looked exactly how he should have looked. Like, in terms of emotional, he was emotionally accurate and on point, because he didn't look exceptionally excited that he won. He actually looked disappointed, and I'm happy to see that, because that means he's gonna keep going to the gym. He's gonna keep getting better. He did have a bicep injury, not to give any excuses, but he will be better from that injury in the second fight. So let's see. So I'm not necessarily. I'm actually not able to say that he is the phony one, and the only one that can prove he's the chosen one is him himself. So all the luck to Berlanga. We're gonna be rooting for you, but stop throwing them jabs in the overhand, looping right hands, man. Work the body, do some shit. You the man.
Well, there you go, man. Give us your thoughts, your opinion on this. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe too. Peace out, y'all.